The sky was on fire. Orange and red flames lit up the clouds as the escape pod came down, spinning fast. Commander Ryland gripped the handles inside the pod tightly, his muscles tensed. His eyes stayed locked on the display. Everything was shaking loud, metal screeches, warning lights flashing red, and sparks flying from broken wires. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara sat unconscious, her head resting against the wall. Her dark hair was wet with blood, and her leg was twisted at a strange angle. Ryland reached over and checked her pulse. Still beating, still alive. Just hold on, Mara, he whispered. I'm getting you out of here. With a deafening crash, the pod slammed into the surface of the alien planet. Dust exploded into the air. The side panels bent inward. Silence followed, except for the soft clicking of a broken fan still spinning. Ryland opened his eyes. Everything was blurry for a second. He pushed the hatch with all his strength until it creaked open, and he tumbled out into the dirt. His knees hit the ground hard. He coughed from the smoke, looking up at the broken sky. The planet was red, dry, and cracked like glass under a burning sun. A war had touched this world, and it still breathed fire. Behind him, Mara moaned. He turned fast and climbed back inside. Her leg was trapped under a steel beam. Stay with me, he said. His voice low and urgent. He checked the pod systems. The comms were fried. No signal, no GPS. The map said the extraction point was 70 miles west, too far to carry someone on foot without gear. Ryland reached for the side locker. Inside was a half-charged power Exosuit military grade, strong enough to lift heavy loads, jump across rivers, and protect against harsh weather. But it was made for one person. He stared at Mara. Blood trickled from the corner of her lip. Her eyes fluttered open. Ryland, leave me, she whispered. You can't carry both of us. Not that far. Ryland clenched his jaw. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he got to work. He used a mini jack to lift the steel beam off her leg. She screamed in pain, but didn't pass out this time. Then he pulled a pain shot from his vest and gently pushed it into her arm. She relaxed a little, eyes still full of worry. Listen to me, Ryland said. I'm not leaving you. I don't care if the suit breaks down halfway. We go together. But if the suit fails, she started, then I crawl. He replied firmly. Ryland powered up the Exosuit. Its metal limbs opened with a soft hum. He stepped inside, the suit wrapping around his body like armor. He moved his arms and legs, testing the balance. Not perfect, but it worked. He picked up Mara slowly, careful with her leg. She gasped, but held onto him. Then he did something risky. He attached her body to the emergency back harness. It wasn't meant for carrying people, just gear, but with some rope, medical tape, and metal strips. He secured her in place, her arms around his neck, her face close to his shoulder. Ryland took his first step forward. The suit creaked under. The extra weight. The journey had begun. They crossed the edge of the crash zone. The ground was hot and sharp. Every step sent tiny shocks through Ryland's knees. The suit's battery dropped to 89%. He kept walking. They passed ruined ships, burnt trees, and crushed helmets. The planet was dead but dangerous. In the distance, strange shapes moved. Scavenger drones. Maybe we're stopped behind him. Mara spoke softly. I told you not to come on this mission, and I didn't listen. Ryland replied with a half smile. Like always. She chuckled weakly. You're an idiot, I know. By sunset, they reached a small hill. Ryland placed her down on a flat rock. The suit hissed from overheating. His back burned. His water was almost gone. He checked Mare's leg again. Swollen, red, it needed real help soon. Suddenly, a high-pitched buzzing echoed across the sky. Ryland turned. His heart stopped. A silver alien recon drone hovered above the crash site, scanning for survivors. Its red eyes flashed once, then again. Ryland grabbed Mara and ducked behind a rock, holding his breath. The drone floated closer, closer. Then, a wind gust blew up Dusty and the drone turned the other way, flying off into the dusk. They were safe for now. Ryland let out a long breath. Mara whispered, Why are you doing this? He looked at her. Because I made a promise to. Always have your back, and I keep my promises. Mara blinked, her eyes full of something more than pain now. Ryland lifted her again, adjusted the straps, and took another step forward. The extraction point was still far, but he wasn't going to. Stopped out the morning sun on planet Theron wasn't gentle, it rose like fire. Ryland's eyes opened slowly as the first rays of harsh red light filtered through the dusty clouds. He had barely slept. His back ached. His lips were dry. But worse than all of that was the weight on his back. Not physical. Emotional. Maradashi was still unconscious, her breathing shallow, strapped tightly to the power exosuit. She rested against him like a lifeless passenger on a journey she never chose. Ryland's own body had gone numb hours ago, but his will refused to break. He stood up slowly. The exosuit groaned. Its right knee joint sparked, struggling with the overload. Ryland ignored it. He took a step, then another, and then another 0.10 miles in. The landscape was brutal. Jagged rocks jutted from the ground like knives. Acid clouds rolled across the sky every few hours, forcing Ryland to take shelter under dead trees or inside rusted alien ruins. Each time he stopped, Mara stirred. Are we there yet? She mumbled once, her voice barely a whisper. Not yet, he said, brushing hair from her face. But we're closer than we were yesterday. That wasn't entirely true. The terrain was slowing him down. The path he chose, the canyon route, was safer from alien drones, but it was also harder. The exosuit's energy cell was down to 62%. The carrying load had forced it into low-power mode. Still, Ryland pressed on. He remembered how Mara used to challenge him during training. She always ran faster, fought harder, smiled wider. She wasn't just a soldier, she was the best of them. The team called her the Iron Flame. Ryland just called her home. Flashback. 1 year Agatha were stuck in a training vault under simulated combat. Mara's foot had been caught in a trap, and Ryland had nearly broken his hand freeing her. She had slapped his shoulder and laughed. Idiot. You're going to get yourself killed saving me one day. Then I'll die happy, he had said, and they both had laughed. That memory now hit like a blade. By midday, the suit's cooling system started failing. Sweat poured down Ryland's face. The heat of the planet made breathing difficult. He found a shady spot beneath a curved rock shaped like a claw and lowered Mara onto the ground. She groaned again, more conscious now. "Why didn't you leave me?" she asked. "Because you would have done the same for me." Her eyes looked into his. "But I didn't. You're here now. That's what matters." He opened a protein pack and helped her eat. She took small bites, her hands trembling. After a while, her eyes scanned the horizon. "Is that smoke?" Rylan turned. In the far distance, a black column of smoke rose slowly. Not natural, not alien either. Maybe human, a crash site, a scout post. "Hope, stay here," Rylan said. He tried to walk toward the smoke, but the suit beeped a red warning. "Overheated joints. Risk of permanent failure." "Nope. We go together," he whispered to himself. He strapped her back in, double-checked the suit's leg stability, and started walking again this time, toward the smoke. 15 miles and the smoke led them to something unexpected, an abandoned outpost. It was half buried in sand, walls cracked and scorched, but the solar panel on top was intact. Inside, Ryland found a working battery port. "Come on," he muttered, connecting the Exosuit BZZZT. A tiny green light blinked. "Recharge. 20%, not much, but enough to keep going." He laid Mara on a medic cot inside and searched the cabinets. Bandages, water, even a cooling gel. Rylan cleaned her wounds, wrapped her leg, and gave her another pain shot. She flinched, but nodded in thanks. "I can feel my toes now," she said with a tiny smile. "That's progress." They spent the night in the outpost. Rylan didn't sleep. He stood guard near the broken door, watching the stars dot in the middle of the night. Mara whispered something. Rylan turned. "What was that?" "I'm scared," she said. "Not of dying, but of being forgotten." He walked over and sat beside her. "I won't let that happen." Then, in silence, they looked at the sky. 2 moons hung above them like old eyes watching a young, broken world. Morning day 3, the Exosuit was now charged to 43%. Rylan lifted her again. This time, she didn't protest. She didn't beg to be left behind. She just said, "Let's go." As they walked through the canyon exit, a strange sound echoed in the air like metal grinding. Rylan turned fast. Something was there. Half hidden in the rocks. A machine, big, watching. It stood up for arms, steel jaw, and alien markings. An automated hunter. Ryland's grip tightened. The weight on his back shifted slightly. Mara's hand touched his shoulder. "Don't stop," she said softly. He nodded. And ran. The hunter followed them into the dark. Rylan could hear mechanical footsteps echoing off the rock walls, heavy and slow, but steady, like death, patient and cold. The canyon had grown narrow. Tall cliffs rose on both sides, cutting off light. It was nearly night, but the shadows already made it feel like midnight. He kept moving, even though the exhaust had grown louder with each step. The battery had drained again. Now only 28% remained. Mara's arms tightened around his chest. "What's that sound?" she asked, her voice weak. Rylan didn't answer at first. He didn't want to say it out loud, didn't want to scare her, But the sound was real. The Hunter Aetherian-class alien war machine had locked onto their heat trail. It wasn't alive, but it hunted like a living thing. It never rushed. It never got tired. It waited for mistakes. Rylan had seen one tear apart a squad of 10 soldiers before. He had nightmares of its red lens, and now it was following them. They reached an old shelter embedded in the canyon wall. The door was half buried in sand and roots. Rylan pulled it open with one final yank of the suit's arm servo and stepped inside. Dust rose in clouds. Everything was dark until he switched on the helmet's night vision. The small underground bunker was tight but secure. One entrance, one exit. No windows. Safe for now. He laid Mara gently on the floor. Her forehead was soaked in sweat. "You're burning up," Rylan whispered. He grabbed a cold pack and pressed it to her head. The cooling helped, but her leg was worse. The swelling had increased, and her breathing had become shallow. Infection. The medkit only had one dose of antibiotic left hand, and he'd already used it 2 days ago. He clenched his fist. He needed to get her to the extraction point soon. She had maybe 48 hours left, maybe less. Suddenly, a thud echoed outside. Then another thud, thud. The footsteps had stopped at the bunker door. Rylan froze. No breathing. No movement. Just silence. Then clang. A long metal claw scratched slowly down the bunker door. Not attacking, just reminding them it was there. Rylan reached for the only weapon. He had left a plasma sidearm with 1 cell. Not enough to kill a hunter. Maybe just slow it down. He stood between Mara and the door. His heart pounded like thunder. But the hunter didn't enter. It just waited. Hours passed. No more sounds. Just Mara's soft breathing. The wind outside, and a quiet whisper of fear in Rylan's mind. He sat beside her and tried to stay awake, but exhaustion pulled at him. He began remembering. Flashback. 2 years ago, they were both assigned to the same moon base for night patrols. Mara hated silence. She would sing older songs over the comms, even when ordered not to. One night, he told her to stop. She did, but the silence that followed, it hurt more than the singing. He realized then he didn't want quiet. He wanted her voice, even off-key. That's when he knew he loved her, but he never told her, not even once. Rylan's eyes opened. It was still dark. He looked around. The door was slightly open. His blood turned cold. He ran to it, heart racing. No sign of the hunter. No scratch marks. Nothing. It had come. It had tested the door, and it had left, or worse, was waiting. Rylan knew they couldn't stay there. He geared up, checked Mara's vitals, and lifted her once again into the Exosuit's back harness. "Rylan," she mumbled. Where are we?" "Somewhere no one should ever be," he whispered. "But we're getting out." They walked into the night. The stars above looked sharp like shattered glass. The canyon opened wider. He walked carefully now. Each sound mattered. Each stone crunch echoed too loud. The suit's motion sensors beeped softly, detecting movement to their left, then right. Then silence. Then a sound like claws on stone. Suddenly, something moved fast in front of them. Not the hunter. Something smaller. Quicker. To yellow eyes blinked from a ledge above. A creature, a scout beast, snarled and leapt down. Rylan twisted just in time. The beast slammed into him, knocking both of them to the ground. Sparks flew as the Exosuit's shoulder cracked. Mara cried out. Rylan rolled and aimed the plasma gun. Boom! The blue light burst into the beast's chest. It flew back, hit the rocks, and didn't move again. Rylan breathed heavy, his hands shaking. The suit's warning lights turned red. Damage report. Left servo. Failed battery. 17% not now. He whispered Dot he had no backup plan. But in his ears, Mara's whisper came again. I believe in you. He closed his eyes for 1 second and moved forward. Finally, just before dawn, they reached the cliff's edge, and what they saw made Rylan stop cold. Below them was a river of fire, a natural lava trench, the only bridge gone, blown out. During the last war, Dot, and on the other side, a human outpost, Dot active, lights blinking. It was the extraction site, Dot, but there was no way across. Unless Rylan looked at the suit's jump system, meant for short hops, but one final leap with Mara's full weight. He had to choose Dot burn out the suit in one final, reckless jump, or try to find a longer way around and lose time Mara didn't have. He looked at her face. She was asleep again, breathing slowly. Every second mattered. Rylan checked the booster manually. Just one burst left, Dot, one Dot. He whispered softly to her, hold tight, then took 5 steps back and ran. Rylan flew through the air, not like a hero, not like in the training sims. Dot, this was messy, wild, desperate. The Exosuit's jump boosters fired for just 3 seconds, just enough to lift him and Mara high above the river of lava. The heat below was so strong that warning alarms screamed in his ears. The flames hissed like angry snakes. One wrong angle, one miscalculation, and they would fall into fire. Mara didn't scream. She was too weak now. Her eyes fluttered open, just once, as if to say goodbye. But the moment wasn't over. The suit jolted midair. One booster gave out. They tilted. Rylan growled, twisting his body, shifting weight. He reached out as the other side of the cliff rushed toward them. His leg slammed into the edge. Pain exploded in his thigh. Sparks flew as metal scraped rock, but his hand found the ledge. They dangled Dot half in, half out, above death. Rylan bit down, blood on his lip. Not today. He muttered Dot with everything he had. He pulled them up inch by inch. The suit's left arm gave out, so he used his own muscle. Tore, metal cracked, but he dragged them both to solid ground. They lay there for minutes. Neither spoke. The suit's AI repeated over and over. Critical damage. Power at 9%. System failure imminent. As the sun rose, Rylan forced himself to stand. The landscape ahead was completely different now. Mountains of metal, old wreckage, shattered aircraft. It looked like a battlefield graveyard. Somewhere inside that twisted grave was the outpost and the extraction beacon. He took one step and stopped. Something shimmered in the air, a heat wave. No, it moved to precisely a storm, rolling across the plains, low and fast. Not rain, not wind. This was a signal storm, a planet-borne electromagnetic event known to scramble suit systems. stop heart monitors, and destroy all tech. It would hit in 15 minutes. Ryland stared at the horizon. The signal beacon flashed once, then went dark. He had to get there before the storm hit. He ran, not at full speed. The suit couldn't take that, but fast enough to make every second count. His breath turned shallow. Sweat dripped into his eyes. Mara mumbled again, "Is it raining?" He glanced up. No clouds, just a wall of static energy swallowing the skies. "Soon," he said, "but not yet." 5 minutes in, he reached the wreckage field. Old tanks, crashed evac shuttles, burned soldier skeletons in armor too heavy to bury. He stepped over them all. Until finally he saw it. The outpost. Small, dome-shaped, covered in red dust, but still intact. Ryland's vision blurred. "We made it." But just as he approached, a new sound stopped him. Cold. Click. A gun cocked from behind the rocks. A figure stood up, human, wearing old gear, dirty face, sharp eyes. "Stop right there," the stranger barked. "Hands up." Ryland raised one hand slowly. "We're not here to fight. You're wearing military tech." The man shouted, "That Exosuit's worth more than a shuttle. Drop it now or I shoot." Ryland took a step forward. "She's dying. We need evac." "I don't care," the man snapped. "I haven't seen rescue here in 6 months. You're lying. You're just here to take supplies." Ryland turned slightly, showing Mara's pale face. "She's real. She's hurt. She needs help. There's no time." The man hesitated. Behind them, the storm roared louder. Static began to crackle in the wind. His radio sparked. Ryland yelled, "If you don't let us in, we all die." The man finally lowered his weapon. "Get inside." Ryland stumbled forward, nearly falling through the bunker hatch. The door slammed shut behind them just as the storm hit. Boom. The building shook. Lights flickered. A low hum filled the air like a broken transmission played backward. They were inside. Safe. For now. Inside the bunker, it was cold and dark. Old equipment lined the walls. A weak light blinked in the corner. The stranger moved fast. He connected a working med unit to Mara, checking her vitals. "Her fever's high. Infection in the leg." He muttered, "She needs stabilizers." "I used mine already," Ryland said, voice raw. The man frowned, then opened a drawer, pulled out one vial. "I was saving this." He looked at Ryland. "Why'd you carry her? You could have ditched her and walked free." Ryland's eyes were hard. "Because I'm not that kind of man." The stranger nodded slowly, then injected the vial into Mara's arm. The silence that followed was the deepest Ryland had ever known. He sat on the floor, holding his chest, breathing in the cold air. Outside, the storm raged, but inside, he'd done it. He brought her this far. One hour later, stranger introduced himself. "Hale, ex-medic. Got stuck here after the main ship left. Nobody came back. I'm Ryland," he replied. They both looked at Mara. Her breathing had stabilized, her leg wrapped, cooling pad humming. "She's strong," Hale said. "She's a soldier." Ryland replied. Suddenly the outpost console beeped. Beep, beep, beep. "Signal detected," the AI said. "Rescue ship within range. ETA, 30 minutes. Ryland stood. Mara stirred. She opened her eyes. Where are we? She asked. He knelt beside her, tears welling. We're almost home. Outside. The storm began to calm, but one thing hadn't changed. Dot in the far distance, hidden in the heat waves. A red light blinked. Dot watching. Dot waiting. Dot, the hunter wasn't done yet. A red dot blinked. Not on a screen on the wall. Inside the bunker, Ryland froze mid-step. The tiny glowing light danced slowly across the cold concrete. Dot, Mara noticed it too. Her eyes widened. Laser? No, Ryland said, voice low. Targeting beam. He turned quickly and slammed the main lights off. The bunker dropped into darkness. Just one emergency lamp flickered. Dot, then it came. Dot, boom. Dot, a direct hit on the bunker roof. Dust rained down. The ceiling groaned. Ryland grabbed Mara and covered her with his own body as another blast shook the walls. The hunter had found them. For hours they had waited for the rescue ship, watching the console, tracking the countdown. Now, at 12 minutes to pick up, they were under attack, not by beasts or scavengers. This was the real thing, the alien war machine that had stalked them for days, the one Ryland feared most. It wasn't fast. It wasn't loud. Dot. It was patient. Dot. It waited for the perfect moment. Dot. And now when Mara was barely stable, when Ryland's suit was almost out of power, when hope was finally within reach, it struck. Get her underground. Ryland shouted. Dot. Hail. The ex-medic nodded and grabbed Mara's stretcher. He pulled her toward the old crawlspace hatch in the back wall. Dust made her cough as she whispered, No, Ryland, don't fight it. You won't win. I don't need to win. He said, I just need to buy time. Outside, the hunter moved closer. Its long metal legs crushed bone and rock. Its red sensor eye scanned the bunker like a predator studying a trapped animal. 2 shoulder-mounted cannons locked onto the main entrance. Ryland peeked through the view slit. It's waiting, he said. Hale shouted from the back. 5 feet of concrete won't last more than 2 direct hits. Then I'll stop it before it gets close enough, Ryland replied. He turned to Mara. If anything happens to me, you stay quiet. Wait for the ship. Mara's eyes were wet. Don't do this. Ryland didn't answer. He just smiled and stepped into the shadows. 10 minutes left. Ryland climbed out through the side hatch, the one covered in vines and mud, long forgotten. He knew it was a risk. If the hunter detected his heat, it would fire immediately. So he crawled low, slow, silent. The battlefield outside was filled with smoke and wreckage, a broken tank, crushed helmets, burned out drone wings, and just ahead the hunter, standing tall like a walking fortress, its head slowly turned, scanning. Ryland reached the destroyed tank and ducked behind it. His exosuit was barely working now. One leg dragged behind him. The power display blinked. 5%. He pulled out a single EMP spike. One shot. No second chance. He aimed. Waited. Waited. Then dash fired. Thump. The spike shot forward and stuck into the hunter's lower leg. A faint buzz and silence. The hunter paused its. Lights flickered. Then it roared. The imp had only stunned it for 3 seconds, not enough to disable, but enough to make it angry. It turned toward him now, full force, for claw arms raised. Its cannon began to spin. Rylan ran, but not away from it, straight at the beast. The ground shook under every step. The suit was overheating. Every part of his body screamed in pain, but he didn't stop. This was the only chance, the only way to save her. He reached the hunter's leg. Jumped. Grabbed onto a pipe jutting from his armor. Climbed like a madman. The hunter twisted, metal screeching, trying to shake him off. But Rylan locked one hand onto a panel behind his sensor eye and slammed the plasma sidearm into the core. Burn, you monster. Boom. The explosion threw him backward. He hit the ground hard, the wind knocked from his lungs. The hunter staggered, its eyes shattered, sparks flying. But it didn't fall. It wasn't done. Rylan looked up as it turned toward him again, smoke rising from its damaged eye. It raised its claw. Suddenly a sound in the sky. Engines. The rescue ship. It came in fast, shining lights across the field. Its hull shimmered in the morning sun. Side cannons armed. The AI voice came through on open comms. This is Patrol 7. Human life signs detected. Beginning extraction. The hunter roared one last time and turned. But now it faced more than just one man. The ship fired. Twin plasma blasts hit the hunter dead center. Boom. The machine cracked, split, and fell with a final screech into the rocks below. Dust and silence followed. Inside the bunker, Mara cried, I felt it. I felt it go down. Hale smiled. He did it. They rushed outside, medics jumping from the ship. The soldiers ran toward the smoke, and there, dragging his broken leg, his arm burned, his face blackened. Rylan limped forward. He fell to his knees, but his eyes stayed on Mara. Alive. Safe. She ran to him. He collapsed in her arms. I told you, he whispered. Together or not at all. And for the first time in 3 days, she smiled, and he closed his eyes. The ship lifted off, but Rylan did not. He lay on the edge of the extraction platform, one knee pressed into the dirt. His exosuit burned out, sparks rising from his spine. Mara sat beside him, holding his hand. The rescue medics were already arguing. He needs surgery now. He won't survive the transport at this altitude. The internal bleeding is too much. Then stabilize him here. They tried for drips, cooling gel, patching wires into his neural port. But Rylan's body was shutting down, not because of injury alone, but exhaustion. 3 days of walking through fire, sand, and death with Mara strapped to his back like a memory he refused to let go of. And now the fight had caught up to him. Inside the ship, Hale stood over the console. This isn't a full transport vessel, he said to the pilot. If we take off now, the storm front from the east will hit the engines mid-flight. We'll crash. Before clearing orbit, the pilot checked the NAV screen. Then we wait. No, Hale said. There's a way. He zoomed in on the map. A nearby cliff to clicks west. There's a gravity launch platform from the old mining era. If we can get him there before the storm hits, the boosters might carry us above the clouds. The captain frowned. Those launchers are unstable. They'll have to do. Rylan heard none of it. He only saw Mara dot her face, tears she tried to hide. He smiled weakly. You're alive. She nodded. Because of you? No. He whispered. Because of us. She held his cheek. I can't lose you. You won't, he whispered. Though even he wasn't sure anymore, then his voice lowered to a rasp. Get me on my feet. 30 minutes later, the team approached the cliff. Wind howled across the ridge. Thunder cracked in the distance. The old gravity launcher stood like a broken titanous steel frame bent from rust, its platform half sunken into the dirt. Sparks flickered as the backup generator struggled to stay alive. The plan was simple. Load the suit onto the launcher. Fire it skyward at just the right angle. The ship would sink with the arc midair, lock the hull, and jump to orbit in one smooth motion. Simple. But nothing on this planet had been simple. Not for Ryland. The problem came when the tech officer ran a scan on the launcher. It's too weak, she said. Weight limits reduced. How much reduced? Hale asked. It can only carry one person at a time. Silence. The wind seemed to freeze. Everyone turned to Ryland, still strapped in the Exosuit, barely breathing. Mara stood beside him, still limping, still hurting, but awake. Ryland looked at the launcher, then back at Mara. Understanding flooded his eyes. He knew what came next. You go first, he said. No, Mara. Listen to me. I said no, she shouted. I'm not leaving you behind. I can't fit. Not like this, he said. The suit's weight is too much. The power core alone is heavier than your entire body. Then take it off, she whispered. Ryland stared at her. I can't walk without it. Silence again. Then, finally, she said, then I'll carry you. It was almost a joke. She was half his size. Still recovering. But in her eyes there was no fear. Only love and madness. The kind Ryland had shown her. He smiled and nodded. Let's do it. The techs worked fast. They removed the suit's top frame. Unhooking Mara's old harness, they cut the back panel open and helped lift Ryland out carefully. His legs were bruised, one hip fractured. His spine had a partial tear. He winced in pain, but didn't scream. His pride was too strong for that. Hale fashioned a strap rig out of field belts. Then Mara bent down, looped the harness around her shoulders, and took his full weight. Her legs trembled, but she stood. The crew clapped. Even the captain's eyes filled with emotion. Ready the launcher, he said. Ryland leaned close to her ear. You sure? No, she whispered, but I'll never leave you behind. Final countdown began. 10. The launcher lit up. Blue sparks danced across its core. 9. Wind picked up. The sky darkened. 8. The ship hovered nearby, engines on standby, waiting to catch the burst arc. 7. Mara took one deep breath. 6. Ryland closed his eyes. 5. And whispered, I love you. Her eyes widened. She didn't reply, but her arms tightened. For 3, 2, 1 launch, the platform fired. A roar of light and speed exploded beneath them. Mara and Ryland were lifted into the air like two souls escaping gravity together. The ship's magnetic lock clicked into place mid-arc. The side hatch opened, grabbing them with perfect timing. The cabin filled with air pressure, and then silence. They had made it. Inside the ship, medics rushed forward. Mara collapsed, still breathing, still alive. Ryland's voice was faint now. I'm tired, She gripped his hand. Rest. Back on the ground, the storm arrived. The cliff was gone within minutes, swept into lightning and sand. If they had waited even 30 seconds longer, there would have been nothing left. As the ship pierced orbit, Ryland lay on the med bed. The suit was gone. The pain remained, but the weight was gone, not from his shoulders, but his soul. Because for once, someone carried him, and he let her. The stars outside the ship's window blinked like quiet watchers. Commander Ryland lay still on the med bed, breathing through a soft oxygen mask. His body was bruised, broken in places, but he was alive. And more than that, he was finally resting down, not because the pain was gone, but because Mara was safe. And that made everything worth it. The ship's engines hummed gently as it soared through space. They were on their way to orbital station Athena, where full medical care and military aid awaited. The war zone of Theron was behind them now, shrinking into the darkness like a nightmare that didn't quite believe it had ended. Mara sat beside Ryland, her hand in his dot she didn't let go, even when he slept. Even when her own legs ached from the impossible climb and the gravity launcher's recoil, she just sat there and watched him breathe. A young medic named Alari entered the room quietly. He's stable, she whispered, but his spine is fractured into places. If we hadn't launched when we did, Mara nodded, he would have stayed. Even if it meant dying. I've never seen anyone carry a wounded person that far, Alari said, much less fight off an alien hunter, survive an ambush, and still carry her up a cliff. Mara smiled through her tears. I didn't carry him. Alari blinked, but he carried me. Mara whispered, from the moment we landed. Every single second, even when I begged him to leave, even when he could have run, he chose to stay, chose to fight, chose to love. Flashback, 2 years earlier, Earth-Moon Base's training field was empty. Everyone else had left Mara, and Ryland stood alone beneath the glow of Jupiter's light. She was angry. He had disobeyed an order to protect her during the simulation. She had called him reckless, selfish, foolish, and he had only smiled and said, if loving you means being a fool, then I was born for it. She hadn't known what to say, so she'd walked away. Now, in the quiet of this medbay, she wished she'd said it back in the present. Ryland stirred. His fingers moved. Mara leaned closer. Hey, you're awake. He opened his eyes slowly. His voice was hoarse. You didn't leave? She laughed, wiping her cheek. I couldn't. I tried. He blinked, confused. Tried. She leaned closer, whispering, I tried to let you go. When the ship came, when the storm hit, when they said only one could launch. But every time I tried, I remembered what you did. He smiled faintly. You came back for me. She nodded. You were always carrying me, Ryland, in ways I never understood. Through every battle, through every order, through every time I pushed you away. He tried to lift his hand. She helped him. Their fingers locked. He whispered, now I'm the one being carried. She touched his cheek. For the rest of our lives, if you want. 3 days later, orbital station Athenaeus Station was cold, polished, quiet. Mara walked alongside Ryland's hover stretcher as they wheeled him into the recovery wing. She refused to leave his side. The doctors called it unusual for soldiers to stay in full armor beside the injured. She didn't care. She was still watching his heart monitor like it was the last light in the universe. Inside his room, medical bots adjusted his position, gave him nutrients, and scanned his vitals. Rylan whispered, "Feels weird not being in the field." Mara smiled. "Then get better, because Command already sent your next orders." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah?" he asked. She pulled a data pad from her chest pocket and tapped the screen. His eyes scanned the glowing letters. "Commander Rylan Voss reassignment. Earth Command. Lunar HQ. Status. Honor Guard. Instructor. Note, permanently from frontline combat." He read the final lines slowly. "For courage beyond command. For love stronger than war." He exhaled softly. "I'm not good at sitting behind a desk." Mara grinned. "Then we'll find something to keep you busy." She pulled a small box from her side pouch. Silver. Old. His mother's he'd once told her that story on a long watch shift, about how his mom had kept their house running alone after his father died in the asteroid mines. Mara opened the box. Inside was a chain and a ring. Not military issue. Just human. "I don't want to wait anymore," she said. His eyes widened. "You?" "Yeah," she said. "I'm proposing to you from the foot of your hospital bed, in front of a confused nurse and two robots." He laughed. A real, full laugh, even though it hurt. "I accept." Later that night rested peacefully now. No alarms. No burning skies. No cracked helmets or broken terrain. Just quiet. And beside him the woman he carried. The woman who had carried him back. Final scene. Back on Earth. 1 year later, ceremony was small. Just a few close friends and fellow officers. No grand speeches. No medals. Just a garden on Earth. And the people, dressed not in armor, but in simple white and black. She walked toward him slowly. No limping now. No blood. Just love. When she reached him, he held out his hand. "I walked through fire for you," he said. She smiled. "And I'll walk through life with you." They kissed. And for the first time in a long, long time, neither of them was carrying the other. They walked together, side by side.